The Fugitive Slave Act stands as a dark chapter in American history. It was a law that allowed for the capture and return of enslaved people who had escaped to free states. The act was enacted twice, first in 1793, and then again in 1850. Both versions aimed to uphold the institution of slavery and protect the rights of slaveholders. This essay will explore the Fugitive Slave Act, its impact on American society, and its eventual demise. To understand the Fugitive Slave Act, we must first look at the Constitution of the United States. The Founding Fathers, while declaring that all men are created equal, also agreed to protect the institution of slavery in the newly formed nation. The Constitution contained clauses that recognized slavery and allowed for its continuation. Article 4, Section 2, Clause 3, known as the Fugitive Slave Clause, became the basis for the Fugitive Slave Acts. This clause stated that enslaved people who escaped to free states were not considered free and should be returned to their owners. The first Fugitive Slave Act was passed in 1793. This act provided a legal framework for the return of escaped slaves. It allowed slave owners to pursue escaped slaves into free states and required officials in free states to assist in their capture and return. The act also imposed penalties on anyone who aided fugitive slaves. The 1793 Act immediately caused tensions between southern slave states and northern free states. Northern states resented being forced to participate in the system of slavery. They saw it as a moral compromise and a threat to their own freedom. As the nation expanded westward, the issue of slavery became increasingly divisive. The new territories brought the question of whether they would be free or slave states, intensifying the national debate. The Compromise of 1850 was an attempt to address these divisions and prevent the breakup of the Union. It included several measures aimed at balancing the interests of both free and slave states. As part of this compromise, a new Fugitive Slave Act was passed. This act was one of the most controversial elements of the compromise. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was much stricter than its predecessor. It mandated that all escaped slaves upon capture be returned to their masters. It denied alleged fugitive slaves the right to a jury trial or even to testify in their own defense. This led to many free African Americans being captured and sold into slavery. The act also made it easier for slave catchers to operate in the North and imposed harsher penalties on those who aided fugitive slaves. This created a climate of fear and resistance in the northern states. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was met with widespread resistance in the North. This controversial law mandated that escaped slaves be returned to their owners, even if they had reached free states. Many Northerners viewed the law as immoral and unjust. They believed it violated the principles of freedom and human rights that the nation was founded upon. They refused to cooperate with slave catchers and formed vigilance committees to protect fugitive slaves. These committees were often composed of both black and white citizens who were committed to resisting the law. Abolitionists, who had long been fighting for the end of slavery, intensified their efforts. They published newspapers, gave speeches and organized rallies to raise awareness about the horrors of slavery and the injustices of the Fugitive Slave Act. They also helped slaves escape through the Underground Railroad, a secret network of routes and safe houses that led to free states in Canada. One of the most famous examples of resistance to the Fugitive Slave Act was the case of Anthony Burns. Burns, a fugitive slave from Virginia, was arrested in Boston in 1854. His arrest sparked outrage in the city, and abolitionists rallied to his defense. They held large public meetings and protests demanding his release. Despite their efforts, Burns was returned to slavery under the Fugitive Slave Act. His case became a symbol of the deep divisions within the country. The capture and transport of fugitive slaves like Burns highlighted the brutal realities of the law and the lengths to which the government would go to enforce it. However, his case further galvanized the abolitionist movement and increased tensions between the North and the South. The struggle over the Fugitive Slave Act was a key factor leading up to the Civil War, as it underscored the irreconcilable differences between the two regions. The Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses, played a crucial role in helping slaves escape to freedom. Conductors on the Underground Railroad risked their own freedom to help slaves escape to the North or to Canada, where slavery was illegal. Harriet Tubman, a former slave herself, was one of the most famous conductors on the Underground Railroad. She made numerous trips back to the South to help slaves escape, earning her the nickname Moses. The Underground Railroad, while shrouded in secrecy, is estimated to have helped tens of thousands of slaves escape to freedom. The Fugitive Slave Act faced legal challenges as well. Abolitionist lawyers argued that the act was unconstitutional. They also used legal tactics to delay the capture and return of fugitive slaves. Black communities, both in the North and the South, actively resisted the Fugitive Slave Act. They formed self-protection groups to defend against slave catchers and helped fugitive slaves escape. Black newspapers played a vital role in spreading awareness about the act and rallying opposition to it. The Fugitive Slave Act deepened the divide between the North and the South. It pushed the nation closer to the brink of civil war. Southern states saw the North's resistance to the act as an attack on their way of life. They argued that the North was violating the Constitution by not upholding the Fugitive Slave Act. Northern states, on the other hand, viewed the act as a moral abomination. They were increasingly unwilling to compromise on the issue of slavery. The Fugitive Slave Act was finally repealed in 1864, following the Union victory in the Civil War. This marked a significant turning point in American history, as the nation began to grapple with the consequences of its past actions and the deep scars left by the institution of slavery. The act left a lasting legacy on American society. It was a dark chapter that highlighted the deep divisions and moral conflicts within the country. It highlighted the moral hypocrisy at the heart of a nation that claimed to be founded on freedom and equality while simultaneously upholding the institution of slavery. Abolitionists fought tirelessly to expose these contradictions and push for a more just society. The act also demonstrated the resilience and resistance of enslaved people who risked everything for their freedom. Their courage and determination became a powerful symbol of the human spirit's unyielding quest for liberty. The Fugitive Slave Act serves as a reminder of the dangers of compromise when it comes to fundamental human rights. The debates and compromises of the past continue to inform our understanding of justice and equality today. It is a reminder that the fight for freedom and equality is an ongoing struggle. The echoes of the past resonate in the present, urging us to remain vigilant and committed to the cause of justice. The legacy of the Fugitive Slave Act is still felt today in the ongoing fight for racial justice and equality in the United States. The struggles and triumphs of those who came before us continue to inspire and guide the movements of today.
The year is 1486. Europe is in the grip of superstition, fear, and religious upheaval. In the heart of Germany, a new chapter in history is about to be written, one that will cast a long, dark shadow over the centuries to come. From the clattering presses of a bustling German workshop, a chilling book emerges. This is not just any book. It's a work that will shape the fate of thousands, and its influence will ripple across Europe for generations. Its title, Malleus Maleficarum. In Latin, it means the hammer of witches. The very name suggests its purpose. A tool designed to crush, to destroy, to root out what its authors saw as evil lurking in the shadows. This text would become infamous, a terrifying handbook for those who believed that witches walked among them. It was more than a book. It was a weapon, a guide to hunting, exposing and exterminating supposed witches. The men behind this work were Heinrich Kramer and Jakob Sprenger, two German Dominican monks. Driven by religious fervor and a deep sense of paranoia, they were convinced that witchcraft was spreading like a plague, threatening the very soul of Christendom. To them, witchcraft was not just a crime, it was a heresy, a direct pact with the devil himself. The fear of demonic influence was everywhere, and the church was desperate to root it out at any cost. The Malleus Maleficarum would pour fuel on these fears, fanning the flames of hysteria. Its pages would ignite a wave of persecution, leading to countless trials, confessions, and executions, often based on little more than suspicion or rumor. But this was not just a theological treatise. The Malleus was a practical manual, meticulously crafted for inquisitors and magistrates. It offered step-by-step instructions, blending religious doctrine with legal procedures. Within its pages, readers found detailed methods for identifying, interrogating, and punishing those accused of witchcraft. It described signs to look for, questions to ask, and even ways to extract confessions, often through torture. The book was divided into 3 parts. The first argued that witches existed and posed a dire threat. The second explained how witches supposedly practiced their dark arts. The third laid out the legal process for prosecuting them. Each section built upon the last, weaving a narrative that was both persuasive and terrifying. The Malleus Maleficarum became the definitive manual for witch hunters. Its legacy would echo through the centuries, shaping laws, fueling fear, and leaving a haunting mark on European history that can still be felt today. To truly grasp the impact of the Malleus Maleficarum, we must journey back to the late 15th century, a time when Europe was undergoing profound transformation and turmoil. The world then was very different from our own, shaped by forces both visible and invisible, and by fears that haunted the minds of everyday people. Europe was in a state of flux. The Black Death had ravaged the continent just a century earlier, leaving a trail of death and despair in its wake. Entire villages were wiped out, families torn apart, and the social fabric of Europe was forever altered. The memory of this devastation lingered, fueling anxieties about unseen threats and the fragility of life. The old order was crumbling, and new ideas were challenging traditional beliefs. Scholars debated the nature of the world, while the authority of the church was increasingly questioned. People found themselves caught between the comfort of tradition and the uncertainty of change. The printing press, a recent and revolutionary invention, allowed information and misinformation to spread like wildfire. For the first time, books and pamphlets could reach a wide audience, shaping public opinion and fueling both hope and fear in equal measure. Amidst this backdrop of fear and uncertainty, belief in witchcraft flourished. Rumors and superstitions spread quickly, and suspicion often fell on those who were different or misunderstood. The unknown became a source of terror, and communities sought answers wherever they could find them. People desperately looked for explanations for the misfortunes that plagued them: illness, crop failure, sudden death. When rational answers were lacking, supernatural causes seemed all too plausible. The search for meaning in tragedy often led to fear-driven conclusions. Witchcraft, with its promise of supernatural power and malevolent intent, provided a convenient scapegoat. Accusations could be leveled at neighbors, outcasts, or anyone who stood out, and the consequences were often deadly. The Malleus Maleficarum tapped into this existing fear, providing seemingly irrefutable proof of the dangers of witchcraft and offering a way to combat it. Its pages would soon become a powerful tool, shaping the course of European history and fueling a wave of persecution that would last for centuries. The Malleus Maleficarum is a chilling read even today. Written in the late 15th century, this infamous manual became the definitive guide for witch hunters across Europe. Its pages are filled with fear, superstition, and a relentless drive to root out what the authors saw as evil lurking within society. It presents a warped view of witchcraft, portraying it as a dangerous conspiracy against God and society. The book insists that witches are not just misguided souls, but active agents of the devil, working together in secret to undermine the very fabric of Christian civilization. The book's first part lays the theological groundwork, arguing that witchcraft is real, heretical, and involves a pact with the devil. It claims that denying the existence of witches is itself heresy, and that the devil grants his followers supernatural powers in exchange for their loyalty. The authors cite scripture, papal pronouncements, and ancient philosophers to support their claims. They weave together religious doctrine and classical thought, creating an elaborate justification for the persecution of suspected witches. The second part delves into the practice of witchcraft, describing in lurid detail the alleged acts of witches. It catalogues supposed rituals, spells, and ceremonies, painting a vivid picture of a hidden world filled with malice and danger. They were accused of causing storms, blighting crops, killing livestock, and even harming infants. Every misfortune, from failed harvests to sudden illness, could be blamed on the sinister influence of witches, fueling paranoia and fear in entire communities. Perhaps most disturbingly, the Malleus Maleficarum placed a strong emphasis on the sexual crimes of witches, claiming they engaged in orgies with the devil and seduced innocent people into their wicked practices. These sensational accusations not only justified brutal interrogations, but also shaped the terrifying legacy of witch hunts for centuries to come.
The rumors began as whispers swirling through the hallowed halls of global intelligence agencies. Whispers of a Yeti espionage incident. An encrypted message intercepted from a remote outpost in the Himalayas hinted at an operation unlike any other. The stakes were high, the players were shrouded in secrecy, and the truth buried deep within the icy peaks promised to be more dangerous than anyone could imagine. Agent Michael Carter, codenamed Falcon, received his orders with his usual stoicism. A seasoned operative, Falcon thrived on danger, his resolve hardened by years of covert missions. His mission: infiltrate a covert research facility nestled high in the Himalayas. His objective: locate the missing scientist, Dr. Harry Rathi, and uncover the truth behind the Yeti espionage incident. Failure was not an option. The air grew thin as Falcon ascended into the Himalayas, the biting wind a constant companion. He moved with the stealth of a snow leopard, his senses sharp, his mind alert. The fate of nations, perhaps even the world, rested on his shoulders. He wouldn't allow himself to fail. He couldn't. The research facility was a fortress carved into the mountain itself, a testament to human ambition and secrecy. Falcon, disguised as a journalist, slipped past the first layer of security, his cover story a carefully crafted lie. Inside, the facility was a hive of activity, scientists huddled over microscopes, security personnel patrolling the corridors with ruthless efficiency. He had to tread carefully. One wrong step and his cover would be blown. Days turned into nights as Falcon gathered information, piecing together the puzzle. He discovered encrypted files, biological samples, and chilling photographs. Photographs of a large, humanoid figure covered in hair. The Yeti was real, and it was being experimented on. The implications sent a chill down his spine. Falcon located Dr. Rathi's lab, a sanctuary of scientific curiosity now abandoned. The doctor's notes were scattered everywhere, a testament to his frantic last days. He had stumbled upon something groundbreaking, something terrifying. The Yeti's DNA held the key to unlocking incredible human potential, regenerative capabilities, enhanced strength, and a longevity previously unimaginable. But at what cost? The truth hit Falcon like an avalanche. This wasn't just about scientific advancement, it was about power. Global superpowers were vying for control of the Yeti's DNA, hoping to create super soldiers to gain the upper hand in a world teetering on the brink of war. Dr. Rathi, a man of peace, had understood the potential consequences. His notes spoke of unforeseen side effects, increased aggression, a loss of empathy, a descent into primal instincts. He had tried to warn them, to stop them. But it was too late. A security breach rocked the facility, alarms blaring, chaos erupting. A genetically modified soldier, driven mad by the Yeti DNA coursing through his veins, had snapped. He tore through the facility, a whirlwind of rage and superhuman strength, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. And in the ensuing pandemonium, the Yeti broke free. Falcon watched in horror as the creature, fueled by primal fear and rage, rampaged through the facility. It was a force of nature, its roars echoing through the corridors, its eyes burning with a terrible intelligence. This wasn't the gentle giant of folklore. This was a creature pushed to the brink, a terrifying consequence of man's hubris. The facility was lost. The genetically modified soldier, a harbinger of horrors to come, was on the loose. Falcon knew he had to get out, to get the word out. He found an unlikely ally in Mei Li Jiang, a Chinese intelligence officer who had also seen the darkness at the heart of the operation. She had her own reasons for wanting to expose the truth, her own ghosts to lay to rest. Together they fought their way through the chaos. The mountain facility transformed into a battleground. They dodged bullets, outmaneuvered genetically enhanced soldiers, and finally, with a mixture of skill and luck, they escaped into the unforgiving wilderness. The Himalayas, once a place of serene beauty, had become a hunting ground. They were pursued relentlessly, the elite soldiers hot on their trail. But Falcon was a survivor, and Mei Li, a woman of formidable skill and determination. They used the treacherous terrain to their advantage, disappearing into the shadows, always a step ahead. The world needed to know. That was the thought that kept Falcon going as he and Mei Li made their way through the treacherous mountains. The Yeti, now a symbol of human ambition gone terribly wrong, roamed free, a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked power. The genetically modified soldiers, ticking time bombs of enhanced ability and unpredictable rage, posed a threat unlike any the world had ever seen. Falcon had the evidence, he had the story, and he would make sure the world heard it. He would expose the conspiracy, no matter the cost. He would honor Dr. Rathi's sacrifice and ensure that his warnings did not go unheeded. The Yeti espionage incident would not be buried under the snow and ice of the Himalayas. It would be a wake-up call, a warning to a world on the brink, a world that had forgotten the dangers of playing God. The Book of Soyga is a very old book full of mystery. Its pages are filled with cryptic symbols and strange diagrams that have puzzled scholars for centuries. The book is said to be a puzzle in itself, a labyrinth of knowledge waiting to be unlocked. It is like a puzzle box from the past, each page a piece of a larger enigma. The book's origins are shrouded in mystery, adding to its allure and intrigue. We don't know exactly when or where it came from. Some believe it was written in the medieval period, while others think it could be even older. Its true age and origin remain one of its many secrets. The book was lost for many years, hidden away in forgotten corners of libraries and private collections. It seemed destined to remain a mystery forever. Then, in the 16th century, a scholar named John Dee found it. Dee was a man of many talents, an astronomer, mathematician, and advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. He was immediately captivated by the book. He was fascinated by its strange words and symbols. Dee believed the book contained hidden knowledge, perhaps even secrets of the universe itself. The book seemed to hold secrets of magic and the universe. Dee spent countless hours studying its pages, hoping to unlock its mysteries. Many people tried to understand the book after Dee. Scholars, mystics, and cryptographers all took their turn, each hoping to be the one to finally decipher its code. They wanted to unlock its mysteries, believing that the book held the key to untold knowledge and power. But the Book of Soyga was not easily understood. For centuries, the Book of Soyga kept its secrets hidden. Its pages remained an enigma, a tantalizing glimpse of something just out of reach. The book seemed to be written in a code that no one could crack. Its symbols and diagrams defied all attempts at translation. Some people thought it might be written in an alien language, a script from another world. This theory only added to the book's mystique. Others believed it held the key to ultimate knowledge, a treasure trove of wisdom waiting to be unlocked. The Book of Soyga remains one of history's greatest mysteries, a puzzle that continues to captivate and intrigue. John Dee was a famous scholar, known for his vast knowledge and insatiable curiosity, and magician in the court of Queen Elizabeth I. He served as her advisor, using his expertise in various fields to guide her decisions. He was fascinated by the world around him, always seeking to uncover its hidden mysteries. Dee studied math, science, and the stars. His work in these areas was groundbreaking, and he was considered one of the most learned men of his time. He also believed in magic and the power of spirits. Dee was convinced that the natural and supernatural worlds were interconnected. When Dee found the Book of Soyga, he thought it might hold the answers to his questions about the universe. This ancient text was said to contain secrets that could unlock the mysteries of creation. Dee spent years trying to understand the book. He pored over its pages, hoping to decipher its cryptic messages and unlock its hidden knowledge. He even claimed to have spoken to angels about it. These celestial beings, he believed, could provide him with the insights he needed. According to Dee, an angel told him the book was given to Adam in the Garden of Eden. This revelation only deepened his obsession with the text. Whether true or not, Dee's obsession with the book cemented its place in the history of the strange and unexplained. His relentless pursuit of knowledge, both scientific and mystical, left an indelible mark on history. The Book of Soyga is a strange mix of words and pictures. This ancient manuscript has puzzled scholars for centuries with its mysterious content and cryptic illustrations. It contains prayers, spells, and lists of names. These names are not just random, they hold significant meaning and power, often believed to be connected to the spiritual realm. Some of these names belong to angels. These angelic names were thought to invoke protection and guidance from higher beings. Others seem to be demons. These demonic names were often used in rituals to summon or control darker forces. The book also has strange drawings called magical diagrams. These diagrams are intricate and complex, believed to hold the key to unlocking powerful spells and incantations. These were used in rituals and ceremonies by magicians in the past. Magicians would spend years studying these diagrams to master their craft and perform successful rituals. The book is written mostly in Latin, but it also has words from other languages. This multilingual aspect adds another layer of complexity, making it a true enigma. This mix of languages makes the book even more difficult to understand. Scholars have spent countless hours trying to decode its meaning, often with little success. It is like a puzzle box with many locks. Each page seems to hold a secret, waiting to be unlocked by those who can decipher its code. Each lock requires a different key to open it. The quest to find these keys has fascinated and frustrated researchers for generations, making the Book of Soyga one of the most intriguing mysteries of the medieval world. The most mysterious part of the Book of Soyga is a set of 36 tables. These tables are filled with letters arranged in a seemingly random order. For centuries, people believed these tables held a secret code, but no one could figure out how to crack it. The tables became the most intriguing and frustrating part of the book. Some people thought the tables might predict the future. Others believed they held the key to creating magical objects. But without a way to understand them, the tables remained a source of speculation and mystery.
The Book of Abramelin is an ancient grimoire. It is a textbook of magic. It details a powerful system for communicating with angels. This book has fascinated occultists for centuries. The book is attributed to Abraham of Worms. He was a Jewish traveler and scholar. He lived in Germany in the 14th century. Abraham claimed to have received the book's teachings from Abramelin the mage. Abramelin was a mysterious sage living in the Egyptian desert. The Book of Abramelin is a fascinating blend of magic, mysticism, and Kabbalah. It promises the practitioner extraordinary spiritual power. It outlines a complex and demanding system of ritual magic. This magic culminates in contact with one's holy guardian angel. The book's true authorship remains a mystery. The text is a unique window into medieval magic. It continues to influence and inspire modern practitioners. Its secrets continue to be explored and debated. Abraham of Worms yearned for spiritual enlightenment. He embarked on a journey to Egypt. This was the rumored home of Abramelin. His journey was fraught with danger, yet Abraham persevered, driven by his thirst for knowledge. After years of searching, he found Abramelin. The sage resided in a remote desert location. Abramelin taught Abraham his secret system of magic. This system was based on purification, prayer, and angelic invocation. Abramelin instructed Abraham to record his teachings. These were to be passed down to Abraham's son. The Book of Abramelin was born. It was a testament to Abraham's journey. It held the key to unlocking hidden spiritual powers. The story of Abraham's quest resonates with seekers even today. It highlights the importance of dedication on the spiritual path. It reminds us that true knowledge is often found through perseverance and sacrifice. The Book of Abramelin is divided into 3 books. The first book recounts Abraham's travels. It introduces the reader to Abramelin's teachings. The second book details the Abramelin operation. This is a 6-month period of intense prayer and purification. The third book provides instructions for creating magical squares. These squares are used to invoke angels and demons. They are powerful tools in the Abramelin system. The squares are complex and require careful study. The book emphasizes the importance of moral conduct. It stresses the need for humility and compassion. These qualities are essential for successful magical work. The Abramelin operation is not merely about gaining power, it is about spiritual transformation. Section 4. The Abramelin Operation, a path to spiritual enlightenment. The Abramelin operation is the core of the book. It is a rigorous undertaking. It demands complete dedication from the practitioner. The operation involves daily prayer, fasting, and ritual purification. It lasts for 6 months. The goal is to achieve knowledge and conversation with one's holy guardian angel. This is a profound spiritual experience. It grants the magician access to divine wisdom and guidance. It is a union of the human and the divine. The operation is not for the faint of heart. It requires immense willpower. It also requires unwavering faith. It is a test of the magician's resolve. Those who succeed are rewarded with profound spiritual insight. They gain the ability to perform powerful magic. Section 5. Legacy of the Book, Abramelin's influence on Western occultism. The Book of Abramelin has influenced Western esoteric thought for centuries. Its system of magic is still practiced today. It has inspired numerous magical orders and traditions. The concept of the Holy Guardian Angel has become central to many occult systems. The book's influence can be seen in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It can also be seen in the works of Aleister Crowley. These are just a few examples. The book's impact is undeniable. The book's message of spiritual self-transformation continues to resonate. It offers a path to enlightenment. This path is open to those willing to undertake its demanding rituals. The Book of Abramelin remains a powerful testament to the enduring human desire to connect with the divine. It continues to fascinate and inspire seekers on their spiritual journeys.
The Whitechapel murders terrorized London's East End in the autumn of 1888. Attributed to the unidentified Jack the Ripper, these brutal killings remain one of history's most infamous unsolved crime sprees. The gruesome nature of the murders and the killer's ability to evade capture created a climate of fear and suspicion. The murders exposed the dark underbelly of Victorian society, highlighting the plight of the poor and vulnerable. The name Jack the Ripper originated from a letter sent to the Central News Agency, claiming responsibility for the killings. The Whitechapel murders remain a chilling reminder of the human capacity for violence and the vulnerability of those living on the margins of society. To understand the Whitechapel murders, we must first understand the district in which they occurred. In the late 19th century, Whitechapel was notorious for its poverty, crime, and vice. Overcrowding was rampant, with families crammed into dilapidated tenement buildings. Women faced limited opportunities and were often forced into prostitution to make ends meet. Alcoholism was widespread, offering a temporary escape from the harsh realities of life in Whitechapel. In this environment of poverty and desperation, a climate of fear and vulnerability flourished, providing fertile ground for the Whitechapel tragedies to unfold. While the canonical 5 victims of Jack the Ripper are the most well-known, other murders occurred in Whitechapel around the same time. One such case was the murder of Emma Elizabeth Smith on April 3, 1888. Smith, a woman known to engage in prostitution, was brutally attacked on Osborne Street and succumbed to her injuries the following day. Another significant case was the murder of Martha Tabram on August 7, 1888, found stabbed to death in George Yard Building. While some similarities exist between these murders and the later Ripper killings, their connection remains debated. Regardless of their connection to Jack the Ripper, the murders of Smith and Tabram serve as grim reminders of the dangers faced by women in Whitechapel's underbelly. The canonical 5 are the murders most definitively attributed to Jack the Ripper. These 5 women, Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes and Mary Jane Kelly, were all murdered within a 3-month period, plunging Whitechapel into a state of terror. The first victim, Mary Ann Nichols, was discovered on August 31, 1888 in Bucks Row, her throat slashed and abdomen mutilated. Just a week later, Annie Chapman was found murdered in the backyard of a tenement building on Hanbury Street. The close proximity of the murders, both in time and location, intensified the fear gripping Whitechapel. The murders of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes on September 30, 1888 marked a terrifying escalation in the Ripper's spree. Stride was found with her throat cut on Dutfield's yard, but her body was otherwise unmarked. Eddowes was discovered just 45 minutes later on Mitre Square, her throat slashed and face mutilated. The double murder committed within such a short time frame demonstrated the killer's audacity and bloodlust. The final victim attributed to Jack the Ripper was Mary Jane Kelly, found brutally murdered in her room on Miller's Court on November 9, 1888. The sheer savagery of Kelly's murder sent shockwaves through London and beyond, cementing Jack the Ripper's place in criminal history. The Whitechapel murders sparked a massive investigation by the London Metropolitan Police. The police faced immense pressure to catch the killer and restore order to the East End. However, the investigation was hampered by the lack of modern forensic techniques, the dense and impoverished nature of Whitechapel, and a deluge of false leads. The police conducted door-to-door inquiries, interviewed thousands of potential witnesses, and offered a reward for information leading to the arrest of the perpetrator. The police also relied on newly emerging forensic techniques, such as fingerprinting, but these methods were still in their infancy. The investigation was further complicated by the sensationalized reporting of the murders in the press. Newspapers often published inaccurate or exaggerated accounts of the murders, fueling public fear and speculation. Despite their best efforts, the police were unable to identify or apprehend Jack the Ripper. The killer seemed to vanish as quickly as he had appeared, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The Whitechapel murders exposed the limitations of Victorian policing and highlighted the need for more sophisticated investigative techniques. Throughout the Whitechapel murders investigation, the police received a flood of letters, many claiming to be from the killer himself. The most infamous of these is the From Hell letter, received by George Lusk, the chairman of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. This letter, accompanied by a small box containing half a human kidney, was written in a chillingly casual tone and signed From Hell. Another notable letter is the Dear Boss letter, sent to the Central News Agency, signed Jack the Ripper. The Whitechapel murders investigation yielded a long list of suspects, each with their own potential motives and connections to the crimes. Despite extensive investigation, no conclusive evidence ever linked any suspect to the murders, leaving the door open to endless speculation and debate. While the canonical 5 murders are the most widely recognized, the Whitechapel murders file includes several other murders that occurred in the area between 1888 and 1891. One such case is the murder of Rose Millet on December 20th, 1888, found strangled in Poplar. Another notable case is the murder of Alice Mackenzie on July 17th, 1889, found murdered in Castle Alley, Whitechapel. The inclusion of these murders in the Whitechapel murders file highlights the difficulty of definitively attributing crimes to a single perpetrator in the absence of conclusive evidence. It also serves as a stark reminder of the dangers faced by women living and working in Whitechapel's underbelly. The investigation into these additional murders faced similar challenges to the canonical 5, with a lack of witnesses, limited forensic techniques, and a climate of fear hindering police efforts. The Whitechapel murders cast a long shadow over Victorian England. The case exposed the dark underbelly of Victorian society, highlighting the plight of the poor and vulnerable. One of the most significant impacts of the Whitechapel murders was the development and adoption of more sophisticated investigative techniques. The case highlighted the need for better crime scene preservation, more systematic methods of interviewing witnesses, and the importance of forensic evidence. Beyond their impact on policing, the Whitechapel murders had a profound cultural impact, inspiring a wave of fictional accounts and reflecting broader anxieties about class, gender, and the dark side of human nature. The enduring fascination with the Whitechapel murders speaks to the power of unsolved mysteries to capture the imagination. More than a century after the Whitechapel murders, the case continues to fascinate and intrigue people around the world. The identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of the most enduring mysteries in criminal history, with countless theories and speculations put forward over the years. The lack of a definitive answer, combined with the gruesome nature of the crimes and the social context in which they occurred, ensures that the Whitechapel murders will continue to fascinate and horrify for generations to come. New theories emerge regularly, each claiming to have uncovered the true identity of Jack the Ripper. While some theories have gained more traction than others, none have been able to definitively solve the mystery. The Whitechapel murders stand as a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human fascination with the dark side of human nature. a legacy of dispossession, setting the stage. The year 1788 marked a turning point in the ancient story of Australia. British ships arrived, unfurling the Union Jack on shores that had been home to Aboriginal people for millennia. This was not a peaceful encounter, it was an invasion. The British brought with them a sense of superiority, viewing the Aboriginal people and their rich cultures as primitive. They claimed the land as their own, a doctrine of terra nullius, empty land that ignored the deep connection of my people to this country. This land, our mother, was the foundation of our existence. It held our stories, our laws, our very beings, yet in the eyes of the colonizers we were invisible, irrelevant. The arrival of the British triggered a systematic dispossession, a brutal upending of Aboriginal lives. We were driven from our traditional lands, our sacred sites desecrated, our languages silenced. This was not just an assault on our physical presence, but a calculated attempt to erase our very identity. The decades that followed were marked by violence, disease, and the relentless encroachment of colonial settlement. Aboriginal people fought back, defending their lands and their way of life, but the technological superiority of the British, coupled with their ruthless determination, proved overwhelming. The echoes of this dispossession reverberate to this day, a deep wound in the soul of our nation. The forced removal of Aboriginal children, a practice that reached its peak in the 20th century, was not an isolated event. It was born from this history of colonization, woven into the fabric of a society built on the denial of Aboriginal rights and the desire to erase our presence. It was a calculated strategy designed to eliminate not just a people but a culture, a connection to land and kin that had endured for centuries. The stain of half-caste, a tool for erasure. As the 19th century progressed, a new and insidious concept took root in the colonial psyche, the idea of the half-caste. This term, loaded with the weight of scientific racism, sought to categorize and rank individuals based on their perceived degree of aboriginality. It was a product of the era's obsession with racial purity, fueled by theories of social Darwinism and eugenics. In the eyes of the colonizers, half-caste children represented a problem, a blurring of the lines they sought to draw between black and white. They believed that aboriginality was a taint, a contaminant that could be bred out through assimilation. These children, caught between two worlds, became targets of a policy designed to sever their ties to their Aboriginal heritage. The very notion of half-caste was a tool of division, a way to drive a wedge between Aboriginal families and communities. It was a fiction that ignored the fluidity of identity, the deep connections that bound Aboriginal people together regardless of skin color. This classification was not just a matter of labels, it had profound and devastating consequences. It underpinned the policies of child removal, providing a rationale for the wholesale separation of generations and the attempted destruction of Aboriginal culture. The Aborigines Act, 1905, legislating control. In 1905, Western Australia codified racial segregation with the Aborigines Act. This legislation gave the government sweeping authority over Aboriginal lives. It was a framework for dispossession, aiming to eliminate Aboriginal culture. The Act established the Chief Protector of Aborigines with almost absolute power. This individual dictated where people lived, who they married, and if they kept their children. The Aborigines Act was about control, not protection. It was a tool for forced assimilation, a blueprint for cultural genocide. This legislation enshrined the belief that Aboriginal people needed to be controlled by the state. The Act cast a long shadow, creating a legacy of trauma and loss. Section 4, Section 98. The heart of a cruel policy. At the heart of the Aborigines Act 1905 lay a provision that would have a particularly devastating impact on Aboriginal families, Section 98. This section, cold and bureaucratic in its language, granted the Chief Protector of Aborigines the power to remove any Aboriginal child from their family without parental consent or judicial oversight. This power, absolute and unchecked, was a weapon wielded against Aboriginal families. It allowed the government to rip children from their mothers' arms, to tear apart the fabric of Aboriginal society at its most fundamental level. The Chief Protector, acting as a kind of benevolent dictator, became the legal guardian of all Aboriginal children, able to determine their fate with the stroke of a pen. Section 98 was applied with particular ruthlessness to so-called half-caste children. These children, seen as more readily assimilable into white society, were often targeted for removal, their lighter skin a mark of their perceived value to the colonial project. They were to be molded in the image of their oppressors, stripped of their language, their culture, their very identity. This provision, a stain on the conscience of a nation, laid bare the true intent of the Aborigines Act, the eradication of aboriginality itself. The system established by the Aborigines Act was meticulously designed to break the spirit of Aboriginal people. It sought to control every aspect of their lives, from where they could live to whom they could marry. This oppressive regime was not just about physical control, but about psychological domination, aiming to erase Aboriginal culture and identity. Families were torn apart, communities were fractured, and the pain inflicted by these policies echoed through generations. The relentless pressure to conform to an alien way of life left many Aboriginal people feeling lost, their connections to their heritage severed. This system, with its calculated cruelty, left deep scars on the collective psyche of Aboriginal Australia. The focus on half-caste children was a particularly insidious aspect of the Aborigines Act. Authorities believed that these children, being of mixed heritage, could be more easily assimilated into white society. This misguided notion led to the widespread practice of forcibly removing half-caste children from their families. These children were placed in institutions or with white families, where they were often subjected to harsh conditions and forced to abandon their Aboriginal identity. The trauma of these removals was profound, as children were cut off from their roots, their families, and their culture. The policy aimed to create a generation of Aboriginal people who would no longer identify as Aboriginal, thereby erasing the culture from within. The legacies of the Aborigines Act and Section 98 are still felt today. The intergenerational trauma caused by these policies has had lasting effects on Aboriginal communities. Many survivors of the stolen generations, as they are now known, continue to struggle with their identity and the loss of their cultural heritage. The pain of being forcibly removed from their families and the subsequent disconnection from their roots has left deep emotional scars. Efforts to heal and reconcile are ongoing, but the impact of these policies serves as a stark reminder of the injustices faced by Aboriginal people. The resilience and strength of Aboriginal communities in the face of such adversity is a testament to their enduring spirit and determination to preserve their culture and identity.